welcome everyone. I'm James Clear from Passive Panda, and I'm really excited to share this live class with you today. I've brought on my friend Carol Tice, who is our guest speaker and expert on the matters of freelancing, and specifically how to make a six-figure salary as a freelancer in this year and in just the next 12 months. So we're going to be talking about 10 different ways and strategies to find higher paying gigs, increase your salary as a freelancer. You know, what are the steps that you need to take if you want to get started and do this the right way? And if you already have a freelance business, how do you expand and grow it into something that is more profitable for you and can help create the freedom that you're looking for? So as far as my background, I've done some freelancing as a freelance writer, as a web designer, and as a graphic designer. The highest my rate has ever been as far as a web designer was around $300 an hour. So I'm definitely not the expert for this call, but I do feel like I'll be able to contribute and help provide some answers to your questions whenever they arise. So I'll be here to provide some things, but I'm more excited for Carol to share her expertise and her advice with you because she earned over six figures as a freelance writer last year. She's an expert in these matters and also has a variety of insights and examples and real-life experiences to draw on and share with you that you can use and utilize in your own business. So, Carol, thank you so much for joining me today. Please say hi to everyone.
Hey, I'm thrilled to be here. Thanks for having me on, James. I just want to say that, the sort of idea for doing this event came out of a post that I did called How I Made Six Figures as a Freelance Writer in 2011. And because I used FreshBooks, I could just pull a spreadsheet and kind of do an analysis. And so the points I'm going to be going over come right out of my data of what I tried and what I did that worked, what I did better in 2011 than 2010, because in 10 I didn't quite hit the six-figure mark, and I did make some changes. So that's sort of the background. And if you're joining this call late, I just want to say feel free to throw questions into that Q&A box you should be seeing just as we go along, and as you think of them, you don't have to wait for us to hit a question time to do that.
Yeah, and if I could, I'll just jump back in and go over the basic format that we're going to follow for the call. I know, a lot of these will give you some long intro and, it takes forever to get into things, and then sometimes it takes forever to get your questions answered. So we're going to try to be real straight and to the point and encourage interaction earlier in the call. So as I said, Carol's going to be sharing 10 different tips and strategies, and so we'll go over the first 5 or so, take some time for Q&A. If you have any questions as things are going along, please make sure to use that Q&A box like Carol just said, and and send in your questions so that we can answer exactly what you want to know. And then we'll transition into the last 5 or so tips and answer some more Q&A and then wrap up the call. And so that's the basic format. And Carol, I guess we can get started whenever you're ready.
Awesome. So the first 2 points I want to talk about are really, really big. If you can be on these 2, the rest of it is going to be easier to do. And the first and biggest obstacle to earning a lot of money as a freelancer, in my experience, is always between your ears. I mentor a lot of writers and, coach them on how to earn more. And often you just run into sort of a brick wall with their mindset. I hear a lot of, well, I can't earn a lot now because the economy is really bad, so I only ask for like $25 an hour because, that's just all you can really get now. And that's sort of one side of the negativity, the sort of bad economy tape. And the other one is just the I don't know if I'm good enough kind of recording that's along the lines of, God, there's so many more experienced writers out there than me, and they're so brilliant, and how can I ever measure up? And that sort of insecurity, negativity thing. And so the first thing you've just got to do is you've got to rewrite these scripts in your head. I don't care how crappy the economy is because the size of the freelance marketplace is so huge that there is 6 figures of work in there for you at least if you are willing to go out there and get it. I mean, when you think of, the size of the money you need to make compared to the size of the entire market for, freelance designers or freelance writers, you realize that you're like a tiny pin dot in a huge sea of opportunity. So the idea that that huge sea has maybe shrunken a little bit, maybe if it's come down the banks a couple of feet, it just means nothing if you're an active, marketer of your business. And the whole negative tape thing, there's so many better people than me. It's just a lie that you tell yourself to keep yourself from putting yourself out there, if I can just be totally frank. The reality is that if I searched the entire universe from now till the end of time, I could never find another you. You are unique, and your take on how you approach your freelance work is completely unique. And somewhere there's a client who needs exactly what you got. You think other people are so brilliant and you don't have what it takes. I want you to go down to your local chamber and pick up all the brochures in all those little slots and take them home and read through them. And realize that somebody was probably paid money to write every one of those. And when you see how bad some of them suck, you'll realize, and how sucky the design is on some of them, and the messaging and the branding, and you'll realize that there's loads of room for you in the marketplace to bring something unique and something better. There are so many tired, late-stage career, mediocre writers churning out crap out there whose lunch you could eat with your freshness and your uniqueness if you got out there. So that's my big sentence speech about number 1, change your tape. Number 2, and this is just the biggest thing, every mentee I work with, we sit down to have an initial call, and the first thing I ask them is, tell me about what you are doing now to proactively market your business. I'm not talking about looking at job ads on Craigslist and, thinking that constitutes looking for work, but what do you proactively do? Are you doing cold calling? You're sending prospecting emails? You're doing in-person networking? You're active in LinkedIn groups? What is it that you are doing to actively bring in new clients? And the answer is always the same. Can you guess, James?
Nothing.
Right now I'm doing nothing to market my business. And I guess I should kind of get to that. Yeah. Yeah, you should, because that, in my experience, right there is the giant difference between people who are earning real livings as freelancers and people who have to go to their parents every few months and ask them to write them a check to cover the rent because they're making, $15,000 a year or something. People who have the outlook that they are operating a business. I mean, I'd like you to think of any little store in your town that you go to and imagine that they never did any marketing. They took the sign down off the front of the store and they never sent out any postcards. They didn't sponsor any baseball teams. They never went to live chamber events. They were never out in the community. They weren't on online listservs for your community talking. They never put out press releases. Would you expect that business to survive? I'm thinking you wouldn't. You would expect that they would die. And in fact, I live on an island of 25,000 people, I should share, and I often get to watch this in action, small businesses that open and do no marketing and die. And the same thing is going to happen to you if you don't proactively market your business. I think that the rise of the Internet has sort of warped a lot of people's perceptions of what it means to look for clients as a freelancer, and they think it means looking at Craigslist ads, and that represents the universe of available freelance work. And if you think that, it's really, really toxic because, of course, all you see on there is the most horrific scams, and very low-paid gigs. I mean, it's like, needle in a haystack. Every once in a while, someone blunders on there who doesn't know it's a cesspit, who's a real legit client and puts on an ad. But it's so rare to find a quality client through mass job ads. And the reason is that only a dysfunctional company would use a job ad that they know they will get 300 resumes on to look for a freelancer. Functional companies don't hire that way because they don't have time to look at 300 resumes. That's not a functional way to hire. So you have to leave the whole world of this, I call it the underworld of freelance activity that you see on these mass job boards, and go out in the world to proactively find the quality of client that you want to work with.
Carol, can I just jump in there and
add?
Go. I mean, I totally agree, and I think we talked beforehand. If people just did these two things, shifted their mindset and actively marketed their business, just those two alone would massively improve the majority of freelance businesses. But I would say there's a big danger in this active marketing one. It's that people convince themselves that they're taking real actions, by responding to a Twitter, somebody's tweet, or posting something on Facebook, or, they say, oh, I'm marketing my business, I'm putting something out there. There's all these actions that you can take that waste your time that aren't really building, those real relationships that can lead to high-paying clients. I know for me, a lot of times the best time that I spend is researching to find out, if, let's say it's a freelance writing job, to find out who the editor is for a particular publication, and then contacting them directly, either over the phone or through email, to try to build that relationship. Maybe I'm not even pitching my services right away, but you need to get to know these people. And I would imagine that a lot of people thinking or listening to this call are saying, I'm not really doing those type of things, and that's one of the reasons why active marketing and active promoting works so well for your business, because so few people do it.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, actually, as we're talking here, I'm changing one of my points. I'm getting a brainwave that I've got to say something that I left off this list. So, but stay tuned for that later on in the broadcast here. So let's go on to number 3. This is another big perception issue that I get. I get this speech a lot of, oh, well, I live in fill in the blank small economically depressed town, Poughkeepsie, New York, or wherever it is. And so I can't earn very well because rates here are low. So point number 3, bulletin. Freelancing is a global business. As I said, I live on a tiny island. That doesn't mean I am limited to the businesses on this island. I have had clients in the past year in Australia, the UK, Canada, across the country from me, everywhere you can imagine, and plenty in my nearest major market, which is Seattle. Once you have the mentality that you can go after business anywhere, that you can target any company that is a fit for you, things really start to change. Because your pool of potential clients is just so much larger. And once you have that outlook, when you combine that with the sort of positive general mentality and you realize that basically the world is your freelance market, that leads to sort of the main thing I'm always saying to people, which is there's a mentality that freelancing equals starving. I see people comment a lot saying, I quit my job, I couldn't take it anymore, and now I freelance. Of course I make a fraction of what I used to make. Of course? What? Why does that naturally follow? I make twice what I made as a staff writer, and I was a pretty well-paid staff writer, too. I was a very senior, high-producing, got a lot of raises. I was doing pretty well as a staff writer, the thing about being a freelancer, the power and the glory of being a freelancer is that your earning potential is unlimited. You can earn as much as you make up your mind to do. You can raise your rates, you can work more hours, you can take off when you want and be more productive because you're getting more breaks. You're totally in control of all of that. So those first three kind of work together to me to lead to that, unlimited earning potential outlook. So point number 4 is bigger clients that have ongoing work for you versus one-off clients that are sort of smaller publications, smaller businesses that you're doing one thing and then you got to go get another client because that's all they've got going on. This is a really big differential for me, and I meet a lot of writers and freelancers who are kind of stuck on the small biz level. They're marketing to small businesses, and they'll proudly tell me, I specialize in solopreneurs, and I'm like, why? Because very few solopreneurs have a whole lot of marketing budget. So you're limiting yourself to people who cannot give you what you really want as a freelancer, which is an ongoing train to ride where they're going to shoot you $1,000 or $2,000 worth of freelance work every single month. And everyone I know who earns well has clients of that type. James, is that describing your experience
absolutely.
as well?
I think a big thing is that you have to be able to, we've already talked a little bit about rewriting the scripts in your mind or the assumptions that you have about work, right? And a lot of people will say, they think about the bigger client that maybe could send them the recurring $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 jobs every month. And they think, I'm not that type of freelancer, right? Or I haven't done that in the past, so that's not my gig. So they stay with what they're comfortable with.
I'm not ready.
And that, right.
I don't have good enough samples. I can't move up. I need to pay my dues longer. And let me just tell you that my very first copywriting client, I came out of journalism, but my first copywriting client was a small startup that I had actually covered previously, and they hired me to ghost their blog. This is like 2006. I believe I did not actually know what a blog was when they asked me. I had to go look and see what it was about. And I did some advertorial articles for their website. And my second copywriting client was $1 billion global insurance consultancy that I just happened to see through a networking situation. I'm on a listserv for digital writers in my market, and the owner of the list actually worked at this company and said, I don't usually do this, but I'm actually looking for a writer for me. And my dad sold insurance. And that was all so I had an idea what it was, and just from growing up around it. And I had a basic business writing background, and they were willing to take a flyer on me. I made $60,000 from this client over the course of about 3 years, and for many, many months, it was like $2,000 or more every single month. They were redoing a website with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages of content. And this is the level you want to be on. And if you have 3 samples and expertise in a market area, you have what you need to be on that level. It's really, once again, it's a between the ears kind of situation where you need to realize that, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, you got my wheels turned so much here with these. I mean, first of all, you're totally right. 3 samples, if you have that, that's totally enough. Because people don't, you mentioned this earlier, they don't have time to go through a hiring process, right? You don't need to have 20 clients under your belt at, the $100 million business mark or more. I mean, all you need is just a solid portfolio of a couple samples and then try to go for it. And the second thing, and you mentioned this earlier, was that, my portfolio isn't big enough, I don't have enough experience, I don't have this, I don't have that. And these aren't pitfalls that only happen to, new freelancers or someone who doesn't know what they're doing. These are things that happen to really smart people, because this is one of my theories, that smart people are really good at coming up for excuses to not do something, right? Because you're intelligent, you think you know your business, and you say, oh, well, that's not me, or that isn't what I do, or, you can come up with 1,000 different reasons to not do something. But in the end, you just have to get out there and take those risks.
Yeah, and I think, the thing that helps you get over that hump is to think about industries or publications that are a fit for you. And this works on the publication side, too. If you switch from writing from some quarterly to writing for Investors Business Daily, they need a lot of articles there. They come out every day. You want to think about markets, and this also applies to, pitching a market. I know a lot of writers will pitch. They just have an idea, and then they'll pitch some magazine with it that they think it's a fit for, but it's not a magazine that they would naturally be able to develop a lot of other ideas for. So to me, that's really a waste of time. And I'm going to talk about that in the next point because what you want, we're discussing here with the bigger clients theory, is, you want a client that you can build a deep relationship with, which is actually my point number 5, is building your relationship that you have with existing clients. One of my, and with, clients you've had in the past as well, one of my stock questions to people is, do you know where every editor and marketing manager that you have previously worked with who liked your work is right now? Where are they today? And if you don't, I want you to go on LinkedIn and find them and connect with them and, and reconnect and let them know what you're doing. That leads to a lot of gigs. And I'm always surprised at how many people say, no, I don't really. But I'm going to talk about that a little bit more later in the broadcast. But I reconnected with, at one point, I went through a period where I came to the end of that big global insurance consultancy client, and I needed to replace a big hunk of revenue. And I was really actively marketing my business for about 18 months, many hours every week, doing a variety of different strategies. And I connected with one editor I literally hadn't written for in about 12 years, and it was really fun. I think people think it's so scary, but it was like, hey, what you up to? Haven't talked to you in an age. Oh, now you're editing this other publication. That's cool. Do they have any freelance budget? Oh, they don't? Oh, that's cool. Could you refer me sometime if you just hear someone's looking for a writer? I am looking for a couple new clients. 3 months later, he referred me an account he was actually doing himself, but had decided he didn't have time for it. It was a global custom publisher that does daily newspaper inserts for different corporate clients for papers all over the world. Huge company, easy 50 cents a word. They hand you all the sources, fun work. So, that's
the only reason you knew about it is because you took the time to reconnect with, the people that you already knew in your network.
Yeah, marketing will never get easier than asking the people who you already know and you already know love you if they could be on the lookout to refer you anything. It's not it will never get easier than that. And honest to God, it's kind of fun to catch up with people and see what they're doing and maybe there's somewhere where you could just work together again. I haven't hit that myself, but I know other people who caught up with people and just found, they had a new gig that was a fit for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
there's really no downside to that either. This is strange, but I was reading an article just yesterday, and it talked about the top 5 regrets that people had on their deathbed, and one of them was not reconnecting with friends. If you already know somebody, you might as well take advantage of that. And even if it doesn't turn into work, it's great to reconnect with people that you knew. That's just it's a positive all the way around.
Yeah, that's so true. But my point number 5, and then we're going to start taking questions, so feel free to leave some more, is building the relationship you have with existing clients. So this is the other thing is, I got this comment yesterday on my blog of, technology is my niche, but I just can't seem to figure out if it's a good paying niche. I about fell over. It's like one of the best paying niches, really. But they said, I got this one opportunity to write a really great article, but I just never had time to do it, and I guess I should have done that. Yeah. But not only that, but when you get an opportunity to write an article, my approach to that is what I like to describe it as I plan to Casablanca it, because it's going to be the beginning of a beautiful friendship. I never think of a first article or a first piece of marketing copy that I'm doing for a company as sort of a one-off thing. In my head, this is the beginning of a relationship. And so what I'm going to turn in that first time is I get a huge complex about it because I know it's got to be just awesome, because it's the foundation of a relationship. It's not an article to me. It's so much more. And if you take that attitude at the start, you'll turn more of your clients into ongoing clients. And, the other thing is to just be ready to pitch them the next thing. When you turn in that first thing, you're like, hey, I got some more ideas up my sleeve here. Can I send you some more thoughts? And, you've gotten to know that company or that publication a little bit, and it gives you a chance to say, I notice you don't have a free report for your blog subscribers, and I have a great concept idea for one. We could knock that out together. And I actually had a business blogging client I just did that with. I sold him a $1,500 free report. So that was like a $500 a month blogging gig that I added that product to. So I think high-earning freelancers are always doing that. They're always looking to upsell existing clients and to re-up and to get more work because it is so much easier to grow the few clients you have into bigger clients each than it is to find additional clients. And it just administratively,
absolutely.
The fewer clients you have, the less administrivia you're dealing with, the fewer billing departments you're calling to say, where's my check? That to me is a big difference between high earning and not high earning freelancers. Lower earning freelancers have a lot of smaller, busy kind of clients that they're doing one thing and another thing, and they need lots and lots of clients to make it add up over the course of a year. And everyone I know who earns well is doing fewer, larger clients. And I even have one editor friend who is only doing ongoing contracts where they commit, where they're like, this is going to be, $3,000 a month for you. She said that's the only way she's doing it. So that's a goal to shoot for, but to me it really is an indicator of where you want to be headed with your business, and that's to ongoing relationships with companies that pay really good rates and, love what you do, and, you love working for them. And what I wanted to cycle back on, it kind of relates to this and to the bigger clients point, number 4, is that I think there's a big myth out there that there is something harder or scarier or more terrifying about working for big clients versus working for small clients. But the secret, and Sean Platt and I have talked about this on calls I've done for my community, for Freelance Writers Den, is that writing for big businesses is often so much more pleasant and easier than writing for small business because, and I've written for several Fortune 500 companies now, and it's just like a dream. They're smart. They know what they want. They have a sharp idea of their positioning. They know who their customer is. They know how their team works. They can give you a person to report to who, is responsive. It's all around better. And, the pay rate's twice what you're ever going to get from a small business or more. So,
oh, man, I agree so much. And I just have a small story about a nightmare I had with trying to, I thought that it would be smart to do, when I started doing graphic design and like logo design and stuff, I thought, I was still in college at the time. And I was like, well, I'll just go for some one-off jobs, the small stuff, pretty much the exact opposite of everything we've, said to do today. And
right.
I was working with, right, exactly, yeah. So I was working with one client, and the problem with a lot of small businesses and, and solopreneurs and things like that, as opposed to the Fortune 500, is really what you just said. They don't have necessarily a clear idea of their positioning or what they want. And I made this one graphic design for them, and they just didn't give any decent feedback. It was hard to pull out of them what they really wanted. Long story short, I think there was over 22 revisions to this single small little logo. Imagine it literally went on for weeks, just one logo that took me, less than an hour to make. It just, do yourself a favor and search out the good clients that that are worth working for. I mean, those big businesses can not only pay you more, but save you a lot of time because they can give you a clear idea of what they want. That's a really good point.
And, if they turn out to be kind of a butt pain, the thing is they're paying you enough that it's kind of like you're willing to deal with it. You're willing to deal with their dysfunction because they're paying you $95 an hour.
Oh, that's so true. Those 22 revisions were not worth the, $50 or whatever it was I charged for that little logo.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, the thing about small businesses is they're small for a reason, and often the reason is that they're not willing to hire a marketing manager who is the person you really want to be talking to, and you're dealing with the entrepreneur who's doing everything, and they don't really have time. They don't really have the bandwidth to work on marketing. I actually just dropped a client who was like this. It's like not even that small of a company anymore, but they don't have a marketing manager, and it was just so dysfunctional. The CEO was on the road constantly. He could never get back to me. At one point, they were so overdue paying me, I was like, get on PayPal and pay me right now. I want to see the money going in my account right this minute, or I'm like never writing for you again. There were all these problems, and I could never get any feedback on my work. And, when you get to a bigger company level, you've got people who are focused on the marketing, and they can focus on it with you, and it's just so much more pleasant. Anyway, some questions are starting to come in. Let's take a break and answer some. And please feel free to leave some more. But let me get to this first one here that I see. First of all, Mary asked if we're recording, and yes, we are. So don't worry there. Rob was asking, he says, I want to grow my freelance business, perhaps even beyond just me, but I'm near the saturation point time-wise. All my business has been via word of mouth, and being more intentional about marketing would probably require that I subcontract some stuff out. Any tips? My first tip is that deciding to sort of get to the agency level where you're going to sub out work is a really big it's a big change in your business. And I say this having taken that leap in the past year, where I did take a couple of gigs that had to be subbed because they could not be done by one person in the allotted time. I had a $13,000 government contract that they wanted done in, 3 weeks or something, and so I had to split it with another writer. But the first thing I would say is you want to get your rates up to the sky and be totally maximizing every dime you can make on your own to me before you decide that you're at the point where you want to subcontract, because subcontracting makes you a boss. And a lot of us got out of the workforce so we could avoid bosses, and we didn't necessarily dream of turning into a boss. And that brings a lot of administrative stuff with it that you may not enjoy. I was lucky that it all went pretty smoothly, but I didn't do a whole lot of subbing. But I would love to know, Rob, what kind of hourly rates you're charging, and if it's not like $125 an hour, I'd be much more focused on raising rates and finding new clients at better rates and before I went there. But what do you think, James?
Yeah, actually, Carol, you took both of my answers. The first was that when you decide to subcontract things, you shift from being a freelancer to a manager. And that's, it can work out great, but it is a change that you're going to have to be ready for. So, just think about that. I know in my experiences, managing a team or leading a group, it's sometimes the amount of communication that has to go on between two people actually makes you feel like you get less done. Because you're spending so much time delivering, creating deliverables, assessing their work, revising things, all that stuff. So it can be a lot of work. So just think about that. And also, I totally agree. You need to make sure you raise your rates. If you're maxing out your amount of time, if you're filled with clients, put your rates up.
Totally.
James Chartrand, who runs Men with Pens, she told me that she's raised her rate, I think, 40 some times in her career. I mean, just keep keep climbing. I mean, and I know this is an issue in and of itself that we could talk about, but just 2 quick tips for raising your rates. I know a lot of people are. Well, the first thing is a lot of people are scared to do it, right? And pretty much any freelancer I've ever talked to who's done it, after they get done, they say, "I wish I would have done it sooner." So in all likelihood, it's going to work out totally fine. You're not going to, all your clients aren't going to go screaming for the door. It's just a natural extension of business. You're better at the work because you've been doing it longer now, and you have more clients and you have more experience, and it's it's time to just move up the ladder. So make sure that you do that. And if you're still scared about doing it, you can always take a little transition. You can schedule a rate increase every 5 or 10 clients or something like that, or every 5 or 10 projects. Put it on the calendar so that it doesn't become an emotional thing for you. It just becomes something that, you do once this time rolls around. And another way is to increase your rates and, sort of remove the worry or uncertainty about it is to provide some price tiers, so maybe you can offer packages at different price levels, and you'll probably be surprised how often your clients will choose the higher price tier. And once you see people start paying you more, you might be comfortable with just raising it up there altogether. But those are.
I do so much coaching with people who are afraid to raise their rates. It's kind of a situation I deal with a lot. But and the main experience that they have is that they can't believe how easy it is to raise their rates, and that's because you're under market. It's because you're not priced at market rates, and so clients have been happy to get a good deal. But if you have acquired some expertise in that business, the thing to know is you've added value. If you've been with a client for a year, it would be a big butt pain for them to start over from scratch, training somebody up on the ins and outs of their, variable annuities with guarantees, product that you now know all about, and you should be getting more. You should just routinely be asking for more. I personally find the ideal time to ask for more is November 15. That was my favorite date to drop the as of next year, because you want to give them a lot of time to adjust to the idea and to think about this. As of next year, you should know that you're at a lower rate than any of my other clients, and, I've really let you stay there. We've been together a long time, but I don't have anyone at this rate anymore, and as of January 1, my bottom rate for this is X. So let me know, if that can work for you. I hope we can keep working together. And obviously, you have to be ready to kiss that client off when you say that, because if they say, no, I still want to pay the low rate, and you say, oh, well, then okay, then you're screwed. You don't ever want to be in that position where now they know you're a doormat that they can exploit forever, and you're never getting a raise. And, the reality is you just need to get a better paying client. You need to get out of there. But, when you're like Rob, where you feel like, wow, I'm so booked, it's time to look at who your crappiest client is and drop them so that you can make room for the next better paying client. But we're going to talk a lot more about negotiating shortly. I just want to quickly get to one other question that's come in about whether I have or suggest insurance for freelance writing. Funnily enough, I actually wrote an article for Entrepreneur Online on that very topic of business insurance. I personally do not have a lot of it. I actually got it after doing the article and researching it. I got a basic business policy that's very affordable. In 20 years, I have never been sued, but the thing to know is that if you are going into people's homes or people are coming to your home to discuss projects, and then they slip and fall, your home insurance will not cover that. It's a business. You need business insurance for that expense. So if you have any kind of merchandise you keep that could go bad or be ruined or stolen, those are all business losses that won't be covered without insurance. And there's a basic sort of policy called a BOP. That's a business owner's policy that you can get from many insurers. It's like a few $100 for the year, so that can buy you some peace of mind on that. In general, I say, don't screw people over and make up stuff, and you'll usually be pretty good. If you operate ethically, generally you won't have any legal problems. I've been at this, 20 years and haven't had a problem. So Millicent says, I'm working on starting an editing freelancing business, and I'm wondering if you can offer tips about gaining clients. Where's the best place to find clients? This is a very individual question that depends a lot on who you are, what you've done before, what you're interested in doing, and what you're willing to do in terms of marketing. I always say the number one way to market your business and find clients is the way you're willing to do, whatever way that is. If you are unwilling to go to in-person networking events, me telling you to go there will not help you. If you can't emails because you just belabor over them, it would take you a whole week to write one, then that's not a good method for you. But if you will not pick up the phone and cold call people, that is not a method for you. So you have to find the marketing methods that you are willing to do and do on a regular, ongoing basis all the time. Because getting back to it's a business that you need to proactively market, our big point number 2, you need to find multiple marketing methods that you're willing to get out there and do. And the only way you're ever going to find out where the best place is for you to find clients is to experiment, is to get out there and try a bunch of different things and see what sticks. I'll tell you my story. I started going to my local chamber on my island. I looked around at who was there and the kind of businesses they had, and I went, I don't think these are my clients. They're too small, busy. They don't have big marketing budgets. I'm really beyond this level. I want medium and larger size clients. So I started going to media bistro events in downtown Seattle. Bingo! I met the editor of Costco Connection. I met one client there. I met the editor of Microsoft Office Live. Hello. Just huge opportunities. Editors come to these things looking for writers. So where you live and the type of work you're looking to find, do some experimenting, join some listservs, go to some in-person things, join some LinkedIn groups, send some marketing emails to prospects you identify, and see what pays off for you. That's the thing I'm really, really big on. At the end of 2010, I did a whole analysis post and I did this in my How I Made Six Figures in 2011 post as well, is I did a chart of where I got each of the clients. So you're going to want to do that. You want to sit down with your client list and say, where did all these clients come from? And if it's all word of mouth, that's cool. If that's your effective strategy, you want to just make sure you're in touch with all of your, what Carol Roth likes to call senders. There's 2 types of people you like as a business, senders and spenders. And senders aren't necessarily your client, but they're people who rave about you and talk you up and send you referrals. So you'll be wanting to work your sender network to make sure they know you're still loving that they're sending clients. So kind of a long.
I actually had this written down earlier, but you do need to track things, like you just said, right? That's so important so that you know where the most beneficial places are. But your answer was great. The only thing I really have to say is just to reiterate the point that it's not the easy answer, but you do need to go out and test things because, this is true across any business, not just freelancing. For example, just about 2 months ago, I had a friend who said, hey, I did X and made $5,000 in an hour. And then I tried it for my business and it only made like 500. So, even it doesn't matter what it is, you need to give it a try yourself to see if it works.
And not just to try, but to persist with it for several months and then look at it. I once told this whole story of a marketing technique I had used to get a client, and I had someone come on and comment and say, oh, I tried that once and it didn't work. And I was like, oh, that's funny. I tried it 50 times until it worked. And that's the difference.
I love that.
Right there.
Yeah. That's so true.
People who are dabbling in marketing don't get a lot of results because it really does take a consistent effort. I always think of the Zen monks sweeping ants off the path each morning so that they won't accidentally kill anything. It's not a task that's ever done. It's a task that needs doing every day. And that's how marketing your business is. You just need to do it. It's like brushing your teeth. You just do it twice a day. It's not fun, not your favorite thing. It's just something that needs doing. You need to find a form of marketing that you're willing to integrate into your routine. So
that's another important shift, too, is thinking about marketing as a process as opposed to an event, right? It's a process that's repeated over and over again. It's not something that you get to the finish line on. Yeah, never. Not even. So let me move on to the back half of our points. And since we've been talking about this a bit, I'm going to do this one as number 6, which is to work on your inbound marketing. And we've touched on this a little bit, but at this point, I'm getting the majority of my leads from natural search on Google and from people finding my LinkedIn profile. And the quality of clients who I'm getting that way would blow your mind. I don't know why major corporations and publications don't have an existing network they ask when they need a freelancer. But apparently what they do now is they go on LinkedIn or they go on Google and they put in freelance writer or freelance healthcare writer or Seattle freelance writer, and they start looking at who comes up. And one of the big things I work with writers on in Freelance Writers Den is on improving their inbound marketing. And who doesn't want clients to just call you up? You know, you do a little SEO on your LinkedIn profile and your website, and then great clients just call you. It's really worth the time. I just can't say enough good things about it. It really doesn't take a whole ton of effort. You don't need to know magical secret SEO wizardry. I don't, but I top my search that I looked to rank for, which is Seattle Freelance Writer. You can do that search and see what happens. You just need to have the phrases in there that you're trying to rank for and keep rewriting and updating and adding and getting links to your site. It's really pretty basic. And the fun thing is a lot of niches are pretty wide open. Like I just did this with a mentee who's in, I don't know, Boise or somewhere, and there were no freelance writers on top of that search for Boise freelance writer. I was like, you're going to own this, dude. So you can find a real niche that's easy to stand out in and get found in. And I really recommend that you invest a little bit of time. And to go back to the beginning of that story, if you do not have a website as a freelancer that's got your portfolio on it, you're no one. You're invisible. You cannot present yourself as a professional, and you cannot compete for good-paying gigs. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news there, but you're simply not a pro. People at this point expect that if you are a business professional marketing yourself, that you have a website where your portfolio is sitting there and I can go look at it. And it doesn't have to be, hire a designer and spend thousands of dollars. Just a basic, rudimentary, get up a basic WordPress site that you can put your clips on with a simple design, and that also will just immediately, change the quality of the people that you get. So the other thing I observed looking at my 2011 earnings was that I had gravitated away from sort of more of a mix of businesses, and really I was in very recession-proof industries and publications. A lot of my work last year was in financial services, which, as you know, there's just never a recession there, and some was in healthcare, another pretty no-recession area. So, just like the investigative reporters say, follow the money. What's still doing well? What's emerging, like green energy? Where is the federal government giving grants to businesses? Follow that money. They have money for marketing. And if you do it in an intentional way like that, you just find yourself with a lot better target-rich environment than if you're just going along, sort of taking this and that, and specializing in a niche area just in general tends to make your rates go up and make it easier to find gigs, do gigs, eat faster because you already know where the sources are and the people you need. And so, Carol, just to add to that, because I think that's a great point, and it ties in with what we were talking about earlier, in that if you're not that person, if you're not the green tech person right now, if you're not the, financial services person right now, you can become that, right? Because the majority of skills, there'll be a few freelancers that are so targeted that they, have to stay in their industry. But almost everyone, those skills are transferable, right? And all you need to do is just highlight the benefits that you can provide. It's just a different industry. Take some time to learn it, get a few small clients maybe, or even just go for the big one right away. And you can become that person as long as you're willing to have the courage to reach out to try a new industry.
Yeah, if it's sort of, a quarter turn from what you're already doing, just go for it. I got this government contract in last year to write an annual report for a transit agency. I had not written about transit. I had not done a government contract, and I had not done an annual report. But they seemed to think I was the person for the gig. And, I've read a lot of annual reports as a business reporter. I'm very familiar with them and with how to tell a compelling story to a general audience about what you do that's great, and it worked out great. So that is another difference, really, between, I think, high-earning and low-earning freelancers is that they're willing to just plunge into something that when an opportunity comes up. And I actually had an opportunity recently that just sounded awesome. It's like writing for a mutual fund company, just major cash cow situation. And I reached out to people on my community on Freelance Writers Den because they wanted multiple writers and got someone who was a former licensed stockbroker. She had way more cred for the gig than me. And she sends me this email that says, well, I just feel really uncertain about whether I want to put myself up for this because I'm just not really sure I have enough experience. And I was like, oh, for the love of Mary. How much more experience would you like? So at some point you have to realize that every new gig is a new challenge, even if you are familiar with it, and you got to kind of plunge in and go for it. So Mark is asking a question that I can't understand. Mark, can you put this again? Because it says, do you have any tips on how to burst into the market with to boost exposure so clients want you? So not sure. It seems like something's missing there, and I'm not totally sure what your question is. So feel free to pose that again. But in the meanwhile, on to, I think we're at point number 8 here, which is that high-earning freelancers negotiate. And maybe this became one of the things I dig a lot because I used to be a legal secretary in a sort of a past life. But when a client throws out a price, I find most freelancers tend to go, yes, me, pick me. I want this gig. And they don't realize that number is supposed to be the start of a negotiation in the world of professional consulting and freelancing. And you should think of it as a starting point. First off, you should get them to blink first. Get them to name a number. Say, what's your budget for this? And if they won't tell you, say, give them a quick ballpark right away. 5-page white paper, I'm thinking $2,500, $3,000. Does that sound like what you were thinking? Because if they were thinking $200, I want to know right away so I can move on and not waste my time. Big problem with a lot of new freelancers is a lot of time wasting in the sort of client nibble phase where there's sort of an interesting prospect and you're talking. I try and not go more than a half an hour before having a money conversation because otherwise to me it verges into free consulting. They're really sucking, branding advice and marketing advice out of you about how you would do it and like you shouldn't give away too much of that for free. I'm happy to share a few tips and a few ideas of what I do, but as I hit 30 minutes, I'm going, so let me get this straight. This is what you think you want, and this is what I think it sounds, what's your budget for that? Oh, you don't know? Well, I'm thinking this. What do you think? Because you want to screen them out right away if they're just one of these ridiculous, I thought you'd do it for $1.95 kind of people, so you can move on. But you also want to negotiate because you never know how much work you're going to do for that client, so you want to come in at as high of a rate as you possibly can. And I had this pay off for me so big just recently. I got this contract to write 8 book chapters, and they wanted me to do them for $700 a piece, and I thought that was below my floor. And they immediately came. I said, gee, that's really low for me. I just don't do anything at that rate versus the word count they were offering. And they immediately came back with 900, and then they assigned me 4 more chapters. So that was, it ended up like, I'm trying to do math in my head, but it was a couple $100 times 11 chapters more work. You can tell I'm not a math
you literally
major.
negotiated a few $1,000s in extra.
Yeah, so it was like a couple grand that I added to that project just
now,
by having that long
what's
conversation.
the tone that you take when you usually go about those negotiations?
That's
Let's just
good
say
question.
that,
Good question.
If you say, all right, what's your budget, right, and I'm on the other end, and I would say, well, we're thinking, maybe 20 cents a word for this. We need, 5 chapters in 3 weeks, something like that, where, how do you come back to me?
Well, I'll give you an example of one I did. I had this major financial services company decide they wanted to commission a whole bunch of blog content, and they needed it really fast. They needed it in 6 weeks. They wanted to put up, huge amounts. And they were looking for people who could take, 50 or 60 blog posts, get them all done, on different topics.
Right.
And they each needed a little reporting. And they threw it out at, I think, like 200 a post. And I was like, really? That surprises me because, these are reported pieces, and it's rush work. I'll pretty much need to, drop everything and be going like crazy on this. And they were like, yeah, you're right, 300. And, yeah, I ended up doing, I think, 20 or 25 of those. So that was, a lot more money.
Right.
That
I love that
couple
line,
grand
too,
into the contract.
That surprises me because it's, it's not offensive in any way. It's just that,
yeah,
but it makes them take a step back and realize, oh, well, maybe they're... The other thing, too, when you act like you know what the price should be, a lot of times they don't know either. So you almost take it by the reins and say, this is what it really should be. And they're like, oh, we didn't know. Here you go.
Yes, so many times, especially if you deal with small businesses, they do not know what's going. They don't know anything about freelance market rates. Maybe the last time they hired a freelancer was 5 years ago. They may not know what's going on now, or they've never done it. You're training them. Anyway.
Right.
But negotiate, and know that everything's negotiable. I have gone through major corporations' 10-page contracts with me and gone, yeah, this point, it's got to go. It's a deal breaker. I'm not doing it. Everything in there can be crossed out and changed. And, stand up for your rights and get the best rate. You want to be professional about it, and you want to know where your walk-away point is. But to me, it's almost not professional if you don't question what they throw out as the first thing. It shows, that you're not very experienced at this and that you don't have a good sense of rates and you don't have a good sense of your self-worth and of how much you should be making. The other thing is just if you get them to blink first on price, I find often the price they come out with is a lot higher than you were thinking. So that's why you want them to say something first. Anyway, next point, I think we're on number 9 here, is networking in the 3-dimensional world of meeting live humans. I find that meeting live humans is incredibly good. James and I have both gone to big live networking events. I went to SobCon twice in the past year, 2 different events that are like 150-person limit, intensive learning and marketing and networking events. Made amazing friends there. Everyone's all social media, tweeting this and that. But when you meet people for real, even doing a Skype call with someone you think is interesting, you want to get to know better, that's actually how James and I connected.
Yep.
It makes a really big difference in the quality of your relationships and the quality of referrals you will get and how quickly you can move things along. I like to say people give you jobs, not websites. Somewhere behind it all is a live human that you want to reach. So, find, and you often have to kiss a lot of frogs in the world of in-person networking. I went to BNI meetings. I was like, no. Go to a lot of different types of meetings till you find the one where your quality clients or people who would refer you, your quality clients, are hanging out. And go. Go to those events. I think it's really good for freelancers just because we need to get out of our caves and away from our computers And also that the power of saying to people over and over, I'm a freelancer, this is what I do, does something good for your head that you want to happen. So it's good for you too. And I believe I'm at my final point, which is getting referrals and getting testimonials. These are two little areas that I think a lot of freelancers overlook. But if you have a good client relationship, I would love to see everyone put in the questions whether they have asked every current client they have if they will refer them business if they hear of someone who needs a freelancer of your type. Have you done? People are very hesitant to do that. So I'm going to refresh my questions in a minute and see what people have to say. Have you done it even once? Is there even one client that you have said, by the way, I do have a little space in my schedule if you hear of anyone else. Because I find that editors and marketing managers in particular niches, they tend to flock together and know each other. All the healthcare marketing managers at hospitals or all the business publication editors. So they're really good referral sources, and people never make that pitch to them. They think it's pushy, but it isn't. It's totally fine. Just do it.
Yeah, it's so true. This one reminds me a little bit of Carol. This one reminds me a little bit of the rate raising one as well, because it's like people almost are, I don't want to put anyone out or feel like I should ask for more. They just paid me for this job, and it really the perfect time to do it is right. I mean, if you deliver just an awesome product, right? Just finish a product or a project on time and give them exactly what they want, ask for a referral right then, right? Or ask for a testimonial or something. I mean, they're feeling great about your work with them right away. So there's really no reason not to ask. It's just a natural business question. There's no reason to not do it.
Yeah, and then, the other natural referral point is if they send you kind of an unsolicited testimonial, they'll be like, oh, this was awesome, thank you so much, love how this came in on time. Then you want to respond and say, could I use this as a testimonial on my website? Would you mind?
I do that all the time.
Yeah, totally. Can I use that as a referral? And that's another opportunity to ask about that referral. And the other little tip I'll give is if you do have a testimonial page on your website, which you totally should, the dream is to get some little headshots of the people who gave your testimonials. Studies have shown just terrifically impactful if you've got those little faces versus just sort of the great text of their testimonial.
Yeah, it's so true. It's all about the faces.
It's all about the relatability of that. Then people go, wow, that's me. So no one is posting in the questions whether they have asked any clients for referrals in the past. So I think we've outed all of you now that you're not doing that because I'm not getting any. Oh yeah, I do that all the time. Anyway, we're kind of a little bit over time, so I want to wrap it up. But Mark has completed his question for me, so I think we'll just refund this and then we'll probably wrap it up unless people want to throw a few more last-minute questions on.
Yeah, that sounds great.
So Mark was saying he wanted to know how to get noticed quickly in a crowded local market. And I guess I'd have to say marketing blitz of a creative nature. You look at how all of your competitors are marketing and do something else that they're not doing. I don't know what it is.
It depends on what your goals are, too. I mean, I'm not sure if his goal is to get the brand name out there, in which case I think Marketing Blitz is awesome, or if it's just to get noticed by getting a few jobs in a new market. And if that's the case, then I think the personal networking is probably the most beneficial thing you can do.
Yeah, I definitely work the heck out of your network. But, to me, snappy branding really helps in that kind of scenario. And I say that as someone who really sucks at branding. I don't feel like I have anything going on there. It's more about my track record for me. But people who have really snappy branding, like I have a friend who's a proofreader who's Revision Fairy. People who have that kind of snappy, instant, I know what you are kind of branding going on, to me just really have a big edge because it is such a cluttered world out there now of marketing messages.
Yeah, absolutely. You want something memorable like that.
Yeah. Anyway, last chance for posting a question here. Or we're going to we're going to wrap it. All of a sudden, my webcast counter says a ton of people are on the call. Not sure if people were coming in late or what was up. But ask your final questions about how to earn more. So just to recap our points while you're writing, it was change your mentality and get rid of your negative tapes and realize your earning potential is unlimited. Number 2, proactively market your business. Number 3, realize that freelancing is a global business and you can go after clients anywhere. Number 4 is you want to find bigger clients with ongoing work instead of one-off clients who don't have so much work. Number 5 is building relationships and growing how much you make from existing clients. And number 6, I believe, was working on your inbound marketing, your website and LinkedIn to draw people, let clients just find you on search. The next one is targeting recession-proof industries and publications. And number 8 was negotiate, to just take whatever they offer you. Number 9 was to network, and number 10 was to get referrals and testimonials for your business. And those are my 10 points. Okay, a few questions have come in here. How does a writing blog help your freelancing? Well, it could help just tons of ways if it's a really kick-ass blog. It can get you noticed by really great people, including prospective clients. Throw a Hire Me tab on there if a blog is your main your main website presence, so that people explicitly know you're looking for work. I find amazing numbers of people who wish their blog would get them gigs do not have a tab like that says, hey, I do this for other people too. You need to realize that unless you do that, people don't know that you do that. Then you're making that a mystery. Melissa asked if it's important to have a physical portfolio. I actually got this question in Freelance Writers Den not that long ago. And I think the consensus was that it isn't, because you just end up emailing it over. Everyone I know who has dragged a physical book to an in-person meeting has had it pushed back across the table at them and said, yeah, I'll just look on your site. I just think that the technology has kind of advanced beyond having to physically bring samples to people. So, and Robert just says,
I don't see much benefit from the physical portfolio.
I have one from way back, but I haven't updated it in a really, really long time because, I'm just
right, because you never
everything.
use it.
Yeah, I never use it. I PDF it and stick it on my site. And Rob just says, great seminar. Okay, cool.
All right, awesome.
Glad we answered your questions.
Well,
I think we're wrapping.
Yeah, I guess we'll wrap it up. Carol, thank you so much for doing this. For everyone who's on the call, I'm sure you not only enjoyed this and getting a little bit of Carol's expertise, but also she's got a fun personality, right? So it always makes it easy to listen. So this has been a lot of fun. Carol, where should people go to find out more about you or to get more from you?
Hey, I blog about how to make more as a freelancer on the Make a Living Writing blog at www.makealivingwriting.com. And my membership community is Freelance Writers Den, and that URL is just like you think it is. And I put on a live event every week for my community and bring on different experts, and we learn how to conquer different aspects of what might be keeping you from earning more.
Awesome stuff. Everyone go check out Carol's stuff at makealivingwriting.com and the Freelance Writers Den. And thank you so much. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, James.